Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into this completely fascinating breakdown of Dacher Keltner's groundbreaking research. Honestly, it dismantles pretty much everything we've been taught about how influence actually works. If you've ever felt like the rules of success are rigged toward the ruthless, you're absolutely going to want to pay close attention to the science we're unpacking today.
Think about your own workplace or life for just a second. Have you ever noticed how sometimes the absolute kindest, most empathetic people turn into impulsive, self-absorbed leaders the second they get promoted? It's a pattern we see everywhere, right? From the corporate boardroom to local community groups, someone rises to the top because they're a fantastic team player, but the exact moment they get that title, a flip switches.
So how does this happen? Well, to figure that out, we're going to walk through the Machiavellian myth, redefine what true power actually is, uncover the power paradox, look at the very real price of powerlessness, and finally, figure out how to outsmart that paradox.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the Machiavellian myth, or basically, the old rules of power. We're starting with a massive cultural trap.
For literally hundreds of years, we've been stuck in this 16th century Machiavellian mindset. You know the one. It says power is a zero-sum game, that you've got to be ruthless, use force, and that power is something you just go out and grab. But Keltner's empirical science, it completely blows that out of the water. Science actually proves that this is fundamentally false. True power is driven by empathy, compassion, and a focus on the greater good. So the absolute biggest takeaway here, power is never grabbed. It's actually given to us by others.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 2, redefining true power. What is it, really?
Okay, so we really have to throw away our old dictionaries here. Because true power, it's not about your job title or your bank account. It's not even about having total control over your own life. I mean, you could be a hermit living in the woods with complete control over your day, but have zero actual power. Instead, true power is this dynamic force. It's simply your capacity to make a difference by stirring up the people in your social networks. It is literally the medium we use to relate to each other and improve the lives of the people around us.
Check this out. When researchers put groups of total strangers in a room together with zero assigned roles, a totally leaderless group, the person who ended up in charge wasn't the biggest, loudest bully in the room. No way. Power was naturally handed over to the people who showed genuine enthusiasm, who encouraged others, and who are hyper-focused on the group's success instead of their own. And honestly, the craziest part is that researchers see this exact same pattern of social intelligence granting power in kindergarten classrooms and even in troops of chimpanzees. It's wired into us.
But here's where the story takes a bit of a dark turn. Let's move to Section 3, the power paradox, which is the core trap.
If nice people are the ones who get the power, why on earth can powerful people be so awful? Well, Dacher Keltner sums it up perfectly. He says, "We rise in power and make a difference in the world due to what is best about human nature, but we fall from power due to what is worst." This is the paradox. The actual biological experience of having influence and privilege destroys the exact empathy and social intelligence that got you there in the first place. Once you get power, your brain literally changes.
And the behavioral data on this is absolutely wild. When we start feeling powerful, our brain's mirror neuron system, which is the part that helps us understand other people's emotions, it just becomes less active. We start to develop this severe moral licensing, kind of believing the rules just don't apply to us anymore. Studies actually show that powerful people are way more likely to drive inconsiderately and to lie. The drop in empathy is so profound that researchers literally watch rich, powerful people steal candy from a bowl that was explicitly meant for children. Feeling powerful temporarily induces a state pretty akin to being an impulsive sociopath.
Now, you're probably sitting there thinking, come on, I'm immune to that. I'd never steal candy from a kid. But it begs the question, does the mere feeling of influence fundamentally blind you to other people's perspectives without you even realizing it's happening?
Well, this blindness was proven in one of the most famous psychological experiments ever, the E-test. Researchers basically asked participants to take a marker and draw the letter E on their own forehead so that someone looking at them could read it. Here's the kicker. People who were primed to feel powerful drew the E so that they could read it themselves, which means, of course, it looked completely backwards to everyone else in the room. They had literally physically lost the cognitive ability to view the world from someone else's vantage point. Isn't that wild?
And that self-absorption at the top? It creates some serious, devastating damage down the chain. That brings us to Section 4, the price of powerlessness and its ripple effects.
Keltner's research points to this massive study involving about 5,000 individuals. And what this huge data set proves is that lacking influence isn't just a bummer or a mild social issue. It is a severe, measurable biological crisis.
When people at the top become self-absorbed, the folks without power suffer real, compounding physical devastation. Being stripped of agency essentially hyperactivates your body's stress response. It just floods your system with cortisol. And over time, being in that chronic state of high alert causes literal brain damage. It impairs your memory and stunts learning. And it dramatically increases the risk of things like depression and cardiovascular disease. So when we hoard power, we are quite literally physically harming the people around us.
Okay, so how do we fix this? Let's jump into our final section, Section 5, Outsmarting the Paradox. Here is how we survive this biological trap and keep our humanity.
If we want to outsmart our own brains, we can't just rely on good intentions. We really have to treat influence like a daily discipline. Keltner lays out these 4 universal social actions that we need to practice constantly: empathizing, giving, expressing gratitude, and storytelling. You've got to think of these not as just soft skills, but as the rigorous daily workout required to keep your power healthy.
And here's exactly why this workout is so effective. When you actively empathize and give, you're signaling our relentless focus on the collective good. By expressing gratitude, you dignify the people around you. And by storytelling, you unite your network around a common purpose. But the real magic isn't just that these actions make people like you more. The magic is that doing these things forces your brain to stay focused outward. It acts like a circuit breaker, completely stopping that self-absorption and loss of empathy that naturally tries to creep in when you feel powerful.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought. If we know that true influence is never a zero-sum game, and we know it's never grabbed by force but only ever granted to you as a gift by the people whose lives you improve, what are you doing today to earn that gift? How are you going to outsmart your own brain, practice empathy, and make sure the people around you keep choosing to give you their power? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, I challenge you to go out there and focus on someone else's success today.